So hopeful Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy decided to go on CNN just yesterday, and he was asked about a statement that Donald Trump had made in a speech about 3 days ago in which he called certain individuals vermin in the United States of America. Now, Vivek's response is excellent, but I want to show you the statement that Donald Trump made first, just to keep it in context, then show you what Vivek said and explain to you a really important point that Vivek is making that I think is really important to talk about. But first, let's check out what Trump actually said.
That we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within.
So let's note a couple of important things about what just happened here. Donald Trump does in fact use the word vermin. It is a harsh word, but it actually fits with the context of what he was saying, which is this, that there's individuals generally on the far left of things who are living within our society and they are taking advantage of our society. I think everyone out there would agree on both sides of the aisle that there are in fact individuals who aren't really contributing to society. They are mooching off of government programs. They are stealing, they are looting, they are destroying, and that is in a sense kind of what vermin do. They sort of live around, they take advantage of what they can, but they don't contribute much back. So this speech by Trump was about 3 days ago, or 4 depending on when you're watching this video. Now Vivek decided to go on CNN where he was approached about the statement that Trump made and the term that he used, vermin, and Vivek's response is really good. But towards the end of his response, there's something he says that I think is really important that everyone needs to hear.
That language, they live like vermin. Do you believe that that is, as your Republican colleague Chris Christie has said, neo-Nazi rhetoric?
This is a classic mainstream media move. Pick some individual phrase of Donald Trump, focus on literally that word without actually interrogating the substance of what's at issue.
The word was chosen for a reason.
We are in the middle of a cultural war in this country.
The word was chosen for a reason.
It's actually describing a series of behaviors. You have Antifa and other related groups that have been burning down cities for the last 3 years in this country.
Would you describe them as vermin?
Wildly violating the rule of law. We have an invasion on our southern border. We have millions of people crossing our southern border. Let's talk about the substance of why we have to recognize that we're not in ordinary times.
Would you use that language yourself?
The vocabulary of the vermin or not is not what's important. Well, I haven't used that language. So you can look at my track record on the campaign trail. I talk about the issues. We all talk about them differently. But what I'm not going to do is play some game of focusing on some word that somebody else said without ignoring entirely the substance of what we're actually talking about. A border crisis of historic proportion. Economic stagnation we haven't seen in 50 years. A national identity crisis and a loss of national pride in the next generation that's potentially existential for this country. Let's talk about our dependence on China. Today we're actually talking about Xi Jinping, picking on Donald Trump's word vermin to talk about that status quo. You know what's vermin? What's running around San Francisco on a given day before Gavin Newsom cleaned it up on a dime to roll out the red carpet for Xi Jinping. If he could do that for Xi Jinping, he could have done it on an ordinary day, and yet we're here sitting talking not about the substance of that, but on one word that Donald Trump said in some speech in Miami. This is what's wrong with the mainstream media. Focus on the substance and let's have an actual policy debate rather than talking to a presidential candidate instead of the policy substance of what's actually going on in the country, picking on some word that Donald Trump said on a certain day and asking me for comment on it. Give me a break.
So Vivek gets this absolutely right. But first off, let's take a look at CNN. This is supposed to be a news organization. This lady's supposed to be a journalist or a news anchor, whatever she wants to call herself. They gave literally zero context to Vivek Ramaswamy. They gave no video. They didn't give any additional quotes from the speech itself. Nothing. They just used the word vermin. And they go, oh my goodness, Donald Trump used the word vermin. Isn't that terrible? Now, of course, Vivek goes on to school this lady in some really important things. But the most important is this, focusing on the policies, not the outward, but the inward substance of the policies. One of the biggest problems about Democrats is on the outside. They try to portray this image of being the group that cares, and that's nice. We don't use words like this. We want to communicate this way. We want to say nice things about this group. We don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to say mean things. We don't want to use the wrong terminology. And that's the surface. and they try to paint themselves looking really good, but the depth of their policies are absolutely terrible. Their policies are so bad, it leads to chaos across the United States of America. They're almost like parents who have children, and instead of actually parenting the children the way that they need to be, they just, oh, you're just so good, you're nice. Oh, everything is perfectly fine. Oh, you don't want to go to bed? Don't go to bed. You want to break the rules? Break the rules. You want to come in late at night at 2 o'clock in the morning? Absolutely 100%. And what happens is you have these people who try to portray this outward image. See, everything is good. We use nice language. We use nice terms. But meanwhile, they're actually destroying their household, and they're destroying the lives of those children because they are not handling them the way that they need to be. Now, I'm not saying the government is necessarily the parents of the citizens of the US, but it's a good way of looking at it, because our government, when run by Democrats, we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to treat anyone terribly. We want to allow everyone in, allow everyone to do what they want. Oh, if they want to steal, they must be stealing for a reason. If they want to loot, oh, we want to lower the criminal prosecution of different individuals. We don't want to have any bail. And they just say, oh, we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to use any bad terminology. And you know what happens? The country starts to go down the drain because their actual policies are terrible. And this is the perfect example. Oh no, Trump, he used the word vermin. How terrible. And Ramaswamy's like, yeah, so the weight of the policies you put forward are destroying the United States of America. And that was Donald Trump's ultimate point, where he said that those who are within are far more dangerous than those who are without. It is the people within our society, starting with those leaders who encourage this, all the way to the individuals and the far left Antifa groups that follow this and engage with it. This idea of lawlessness, of looting, of doing what you want, when you want, how you want, rioting, stomping on cars, breaking out windows, taking from the government, offering nothing back. I would kind of say that that sounds a lot like vermin to me. But they focus on the term, but not the policies. That's the problem. I would love to hear a response from somebody on the opposite end of things who's hearing this, who thinks that this is not the case. Because if your eyes are open, this is so clearly the case. The Democrats are definitely the side that says nice things, that says things on the outside that seem good, that don't want to offend anybody. But when you dig deep into what they actually do, the depth of their policies, they're literally rotting away the foundation of the United States of America. Love to hear your thoughts on this. I'll catch you on the next one.